Welcome, guys, to Kicking Balls FC, and this is the post-game edition of USA versus Mexico for the Gold Cup Final 2021. And as you can see, I am ecstatic. I can't believe that this USA C squad, let's be honest now, actually managed to pull off one big upset against Mexico's A minus B plus squad. Because you have to understand, a lot of people, including myself, a lot of US fans, even Mexican fans too, really thought that the US was going to actually not even make it to the Gold Cup final. Because when Greg Berhalter announced the lineup and the roster, a lot of questionable, sometimes frustrating roster selections were included, and we were kind of thinking like, oh man, we're gonna get our asses kicked. Like, we're not even gonna get out of the quarterfinals if we're being all serious, because a lot of the teams that we were going to go up against had their A squad, or as close to an A squad as possible. So a lot of people thought that, all right, Mexico, clear favorite. They have their A squad. Most of the team that played in the Nations League earlier this summer, um, it was theirs for the taking, and already people were saying, oh, it's going to be a blowout. Mexico is going to, annihilate this Gold Cup. But that wasn't it. That wasn't what the stars were saying. This is not the actual kind of progression that all at the end happened for this Gold Cup. So let's rewind a little bit. Let's see how the United States got in here to the Gold Cup. So, like I said before, the roster selections were very, very questionable and frustrating. I've been giving a lot of heat to Greg Berhalter. There's some players that shouldn't be starting for this U.S. national team. Jackson Ewell, I already know that. And then Jonathan Lewis. Oh my gosh, those two really gets my blood pumping because of how bad the Olympic qualifier was. And again, that Olympic qualifier, I never want to see Jason Kreis near this US team ever again. In any level, I don't care. He doesn't deserve it at all. Now, the USA started the group match with Haiti 1-0, right? A lot of people said, well, it should have been more. But again, these players didn't even play one friendly before the start of this Gold Cup, which was a little bit of a gamble. So you can kind of see that the group stage was sort of kind of gelling, and Greg Berhalter was trying a lot of different things with the lineup, right? And trying to get as much as possible with this lineup. We know we were not going to be fast. We knew that the U.S. wasn't going to have a lot of wingers. There was only maybe one winger, Areola, that was in this roster. And that was the big question mark. Where were the goals going to be happening? And, you could say lucky. You can say the set pieces. And you can also say that the U.S. finds a way to win and also have a lot of grit on their defense, because they only allowed one goal throughout the entire tournament, but it wasn't through the run of play. It was just a questionable penalty, I would say. A lot of people say it was a penalty in against Guadeloupe, but again, for me, I don't think it was a penalty. But you got to give it up to Matt Turner, that goalkeeper. If there was any question that the goalkeeper position was in better hands, I think he might have answered those questions. I think if World Cup starts tomorrow, or the World Cup qualifying starts tomorrow, he should be our number one keeper. He's a shot stopper. Sure, he can't distribute the ball as well. I'd rather have my keeper at least block the damn ball, if it's penalties or close range. All right, so going now to the second match against Guadeloupe. Oh no, it was Martinique. Sorry, I got them mixed up. So Martinique, that was the game that a lot of people thought, well, the goals are scoring. It was a big win, and you think, well, maybe this is a little bit wake up call. And then the next big test was Canada, and Canada was close to the A squad as possible. I would say this was more of a Canada B squad, A minus maybe. And thought we were really lucky. I really thought that Canada should have gotten a penalty, and they should have at least tied the game or even won it, because we only played good for like the first 20 seconds where we in that opening goal. But a lot of people question, like, well, maybe this is where the luck runs out against Jamaica, because Jamaica is, they rested all of their star players in that last group game against Honduras, and then in the first half it was just catastrophic, but somehow we didn't concede at all. And then at the last 85 minutes and forward, that's going to be the ongoing theme with this US team. If they can hang on deadlocked, if it's 0-0, 1-1, 2-2, if they can hang on to it from the 85 minute and over, you can see that this US team can make you punish. They'll punish you in the very late time of the game, from the 85 minute and over. So now let's look at the next game. So the US beats Jamaica, all right, last minute goal, I would say, like 70, like 8, I think it was in the 80th minute. Next, look at the US versus Qatar, and that was a big test because Qatar brought their A team. This Qatari team has played together, and let's not forget that they are the Asian champions, right? And a lot of people are saying, well, they bought the refs, they didn't play that well. Take it with a grain of salt. These players can play. The Qatar team can play, but their finishing is horrible, catastrophic, because they had so many chances to at least make the game 3-0 in the first half. And the US, again, sleeping in the first half, right? And that is something that we have to be worried about going forward. We have to make sure that we have to go guns blazing, just like the Canada game, score really early, but keep on the pressure. But I know with this squad, you can't have that. I think if we have our A squad, we can keep on doing the pressure as forward. So the Qatar game, that was a nail biter, because I remember that Qatar got a penalty, and then Kellen Acosta, man. Kellen Acosta is the most CONCACAF player there is in this US team, and I love it. Absolutely love it, because what do I mean by that? I mean that Kellen Acosta is the main guy to basically be there in case if you need to have a CONCACAF win. And what I mean by that is that you have to have a player that can play mind games, to play the dark arts of CONCACAF. Because if you can on CONCACAF another CONCACAF team, then you are the player of that tournament, or even in the game. So Kellen Acosta, his stock has risen, and because of him, that Qatari player basically tried to do a Panenka penalty, went throughout. It went over. It could have been a good, kick from a football game, American football. For this one, no, it was all mind games. And then Josy Sardis, silencing his critics. I've been a very critical fan of Josy Sardis, his heavy touches, and that was such a Zardis goal. But give it to Matthew Hoppe, man. Matthew Hoppe has been one of those players that I'm really looking forward to. If he can play in a consistent team consistently, we could have a really good striker in our hands. He has that Clint Dempsey kind of feel to him. Something else that I also saw from this U.S. team going forward to the Gold Cup is that they have a brotherhood, and they have this complete friendship between all of the guys, and they push each other up. They don't bring anyone down. And you can see that in the locker room. You can criticize Greg Berhalter all you want with tactics, with lineups, and any type of formation. But you cannot criticize that man, that coach, Greg Berhalter, for putting that spirit, that brotherhood in this team, this togetherness in which you see that this team is emanating. All right? So now let's move on to the final, right? To the Gold Cup final, in which the U.S. beats Mexico 1-0. 1-0. And let me tell you, I really thought that U.S. didn't have any chance. Any chance. I thought, well, we made it to the final with this C squad. My hope was, please bring a performance. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is, make sure you don't embarrass yourselves. Don't let Mexico outscore you like 5-0, like that other Gold Cup final from 2009. Oh man, I was just getting like those PTSDs just remembering that. Um, and also just, bring it to him. It's a street fight. It's against Mexico, your heated rival, I should say. And, give us something to believe, the U.S. fans. Give us something to believe in this team. And let me tell you, this team, throughout the entire game, did not give up. Sure, there were moments that they should have scored. Areola, I'm looking at you. You should have scored at least 2 of them. They were right there. Come on. And I was very surprised that DK didn't get a shot in the final. I think it's because he's been nursing an injury in the shoulder. And of course, that guy's been playing since last December without a break. He went to the Orlando tournament. Then he went to a January camp. Then he also went to Barnsley on second division of England Premiership. And he's just been going nonstop. He needs a break. You can tell he's just physically fatigued, right? So when Greg Berhalter put in Williamson, I was shocked how good he plays. He is one of those players that you got to watch out for. Hoppy, man, I have to go back to Hoppy, man. Hoppy, I love that attitude that he has. He has that don't give up attitude, right? He just doesn't give a fuck about anything except getting into the players' heads and also trying to make sure that he gets the best position to score, right? I kind of was critical of Berhalter for putting him as sort of like a winger instead of a striker, but I guess he opened up spaces and he's really good. I think with a little bit more training, he's gonna finish those chances, and we could see a world-class player from him. Matt Turner, man, Matt Turner. He had a game of his life making those saves, and that's what you need in order for us to have confidence in any of the goalkeepers. Because look at the goalkeepers. We have Matt Turner, who did a fantastic job throughout the entire tournament, not looking out of place. Sure, his distribution is questionable, but you cannot question him ball stopping, a shot stopper. Then look at Ethan Horvath from Nations League, in which he was a beast, winning those moments. And then again, when we see this, we see that Zach Steffen, even though he is a second goalkeeper, second string for Manchester City, he needs games. He needs games because, it's all nice and all if you play for Manchester City, but if you're on the bench all the time, that doesn't give me confidence of you being a goalkeeper. You have to play games consistently. Matt Turner is doing it consistently, especially for the New England Revolution. But I think looking at his performance, he might not be staying in New England for long. I think European teams are going to start knocking on the door, and he's going to be moving to Europe sooner rather than later. And plus, he has a European passport. So that makes things much easier, and he doesn't have to get a work permit. So let's recap the game, all right? Because that's what we're all here for. Whew, we had to digest a little bit. So USA versus Mexico. What else can I say? Right, the biggest rivalry in CONCACAF, one of the biggest rivalries in the world of international soccer, and what we see here is this Mexico team was a little suspect because just quickly reviewing how Mexico got into the final. The first game that they played against Trinidad and Tobago, it was 0-0. And then Chucky Lozano had a very bad head injury. Hopefully, he's fine, and I think he's going to have a good recovery, but hopefully, nothing like there's no like head damage, and I think they already established that. And when Chucky Lozano went out, everybody was looking at Funes Mori, the Mexican player that was born in Argentina but then naturalized to Mexico, and he plays for the Liga MX. And I was so surprised that Mexico did not bring Chicharito, a classic finisher, and he's been doing really good in MLS. And a lot of people are saying, well, it's MLS. Why do you bring those players? Well, why did you bring Pizarro? Why do you bring Dos Santos? Why did you bring that other player that plays for Kansas City, and then that other player, Efren Alvarez from the Galaxy? He didn't even see a lot of the field, and a lot of people thought that he was going to be like the next best thing. I don't think he's that. He probably needs more work, but he's still on the bench most of the time. He needs to consistently be consistent. Yeah. And so Trinidad, bad game, 0-0. And the second game for Mexico was against a very, very poor Guatemala side. Should have been more goals. Then against El Salvador, you saw moments in the game where Mexico were holding on for dear life. That game could have gone either way. But because of a lucky break, Mexico won that game. Then the next game, it was against, I believe it was Honduras. But Honduras was a shadow of itself because a lot of their players were injured. So it was more of a Honduras C squad, I would say, and they won comfortably. And that's when you thought the momentum of Mexico was, moving on their favor. And then let's look at Mexico versus Canada. Mexico versus Canada, you saw, I never thought I was going to say this or ever see it in my lifetime, but Mexico were overwhelmingly being pressured on the ball against this Canadian side that doesn't even have their best players that are playing in Europe, like Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David. I think there's another player that I'm forgetting, but those are the two that I remember. And they look gassed. Like, though that penalty kick, questionable, even the second one too. And then again with the homophobic chants. You got to do better, Mexican fans. Not all of you guys. I think it's just some bad apples that are in there. Good thing you got them in check. And that's when you saw that Mexico were looking vulnerable. And you could see that Tata Martino is kind of overthinking things as a manager. I think the pressure of being the national team manager for Mexico is really getting to him, because you could see a clear difference when he was from Atlanta. There was pressure, but there wasn't that much of negativity going in, and everybody loved Tata Martino. And now a lot of Mexican fans are kind of questioning. So now looking here, USA versus Mexico, the match. At first, of course, Mexico was pressuring in the first half, right? But a lot of the balls were stopped by Matt Turner, and then the U.S. did a lot of counterattack. That's what you saw. And Mexico were very lucky on going down a goal or two, because, again, Areola, you have to make those shots. You have to make them. And what's so funny was that in the first half, you can clearly see that Mexico were sort of running out of ideas. And you can see Tata Martino, he was already getting pissed off a lot in their bench. I remember there was like a situation where there was going to be a substitution, and one of his assistants is just constantly yelling and just cursing this poor player that is trying to put his shin guards, and he's not doing it quick enough, and then he doesn't even get substituted. And you can kind of see now there's a little bit of like, there's friction that is happening inside the national team between the players and the coach and even the assistant coaches. So now let's move forward to the second half. So in the second half, you see that Mexico is again trying to pressure on, and the U.S. is saving those subs because they know that the longer they hold on, the more tired Mexico was going to be, and that's how it was looking at. And then by the time it was the 80th minute, you can kind of see that the tides were sort of changing. You saw that Mexico were looking a little bit gassed, and then the United States were getting a second win, move on to extra time. Right before the end of the first extra time, you can kind of see that Mexico were trying other things, but their balls were just going all over the place. And then you saw that the United States late substitutions were paying dividends, that they were getting more opportunities with set pieces. And that's been the constant theme with the United States. They have been clinical with set pieces. So now we see at the second of half of extra time, you saw that the United States were building more and more momentum, and you kind of saw that Mexico were giving up these silly fouls. Now you see this good opportunity from Gioacchini that he gets fouled by Alvarez, and now you see this, whole line just going up in front of goal, and I really thought that one of the strikers or anyone was going to score that goal. And then Kellen Acosta with that brilliant cross, and then Miles Robinson makes the goal, try to do the Pulisic taking off the shirt, but he kind of thought about it. I was like, no. If I get a yellow card, let's not do that. But this was a grind. It was frustrating. It was ugly, but at the same time, it was beautiful. But beautiful U.S. style of soccer. And that's how you win games. That's how you win big games. Usually, it's not pretty, it's not stylish, but it gets results. And that's exactly what you need in order to win games. And I think going forward to World Cup qualifiers, the U.S. has a huge, deep squad that they can look at, especially when they have to play those 3 consecutive games on the windows, 3 FIFA dates. So now that the U.S. are champions, you got to give it to them that, wow, that the United States, it not only became the champions of Nations League, but now became Gold Cup champions. And this could really change the FIFA rankings as well, because there's been a lot of rumors in which they've been saying that the United States could go up to a top 10 spot in the World Cup. And if, things are right, and if the United States, fingers crossed and knocking on wood, if they have a very good World Cup qualifying and they hopefully, win more games against Mexico, hopefully the next game when it's at home and then maybe away for the first time, that could also impact, the ranking system. So going forward to maybe, hopefully if the United States makes it to the World Cup, we could possibly see either Mexico or the U.S. getting that number 8 spot. So they could be in that pot 1. So they could, not be in that category where they're, playing big teams, and that makes the, group a little bit more, I'm not going to say easier, I'm going to say more manageable. So final score 1-0, second half of extra time. And the most ironic thing about this goal is Miles Robinson, that he plays for Atlanta United, and when Tata Martino was in charge, he didn't give him that much playing time because he's not ready. He needs to, he was very vocal, Tata Martino, against Miles Robertson, and now Miles Robertson's kind of showed up to his old coach and say, hey, you see this? Huh? That's right. like you could tell that it meant a lot for Robinson. And Robinson, he could be in discussion of looking at, the first team, the first 23-man roster for the World Cup. But again, we have to give where credit is due. Look, I've been talking a lot of shit against Greg Berhalter, from conspiracy theories to, well, I still think it is, to getting the job for the U.S. men's program, that awful lost year where there was no manager. But you have to give him credit. He got this team in the most. It was in the most lowest of levels that you can possibly imagine. Think about it. We Kova, in Trinidad and Tobago, will always be etched in the memories, and to also be a warning to any future U.S. national team to not be confident that every game matters and you have to put 100% in every single game. Don't leave anything for granted. The second thing is that Greg Berhalter, he had a plan, and when he first played that first Gold Cup in his Elm in 2019, he had a lot of criticism because he didn't have the players at the moment at the right time. And now we're seeing a completely different U.S. team that we've never seen before, right? Now, we could talk about tactics, we can talk about, management, but you cannot deny that there is belief in this team, that there is something going on in this U.S. team that we haven't seen in a long time. And I'm talking about like the 2002 era, 2010 era, where you saw this U.S. team didn't have that much talent, but they had belief, they had grit, and they had the will to win. And that's sort of something that we lost along the way when Jurgen Klinsmann was the manager. Now, look, Klinsmann did a very good, fantastic job in 2013, when he had that good moment of World Cup qualifying and winning. I think it was like 13 games, unbeaten. But he sort of changed the U.S. mentality that we always knew and loved every time we saw this U.S. team. And now we're kind of regaining it back. Sure, it's not pretty. Sure, it's not stylish. But it's the American way of playing soccer. And we see this as a huge opportunity for the U.S. team, that they could, win games just like this. And if you have to grind it, if you have to, sacrifice your body for it, they will do it. And this team, you have to believe that the team's chances to qualify for the World Cup should be at least top 3 spots. Nothing more, nothing less, right? Because they've shown us that they can make it. So hopefully, coming World Cup qualifying, this team instills us and show us more belief that this team is heading in the right direction. But games like this is the right direction. And credit to Greg Berhalter, and happy belated birthday. It was his birthday yesterday when the game happened. I'm actually doing it a day after because it was so late in the night and I couldn't get all my equipment together. But again, the U.S. team, man. Whew, the U.S. team just leaving it late. And that's the way they like it. I think they've been, putting the Landon Donovan Algeria goal from the World Cup 2010 on repeat on their training session. It has to be. Because it's not coincidence that the U.S. has been winning the last 3 games with the last minute goal, and even goes back to the Nations League as well, when you're playing big teams or teams that are resilient. So man, what can I say, that this US team, it feels good to be back, man. I'm so excited for World Cup qualifying. That's my hope, that in order for us to move past the tragedy of Trinidad and Tobago and missing the World Cup in 2018, is to qualify. And qualify doesn't matter how we do it, doesn't matter if it's pretty, doesn't matter if it's stylish, we have to get it done, and that's how we're going to do it, right? So hopefully the stars are aligned on our favor, and that this trend, this momentum continues to World Cup qualifying. So again, thank you guys for looking up Kicking Balls FC. I know this layout is a little bit different. I've been trying something new. I've been trying it through OBS instead of StreamYard, just to see how things look. But hopefully I'll be back. I haven't been around for a while because I've just been busy with work and other things, and I'm also managing another YouTube channel, and I'm just figuring things out. But I will be back, especially for MLS games, the Premiership, the Bundesliga, La Liga, Serie A, League One from France. They're all starting soon already this month. So hopefully I'll catch a game or two, and maybe I'll do a live stream when a team that is maybe interesting or something, or maybe you guys can give me suggestions on what team I should maybe do a live stream or post game live stream to do, because I love watching any type of football and soccer. I haven't been keeping up with the Olympics. It's just that, man, their games are just so late. Look, I live in the Pacific Coast, man. Like, their games start like at 3 or 1 in the morning. Like, I am not waking up. That's like, I can't do it. Like, I have other things to do. But maybe I'll do one for the final, but we'll see. But again, thank you guys for staying put. I haven't disappeared. I'm sorry that I haven't been keeping up with the Gold Cup like I've been doing with the Euros and Copa America. But I still have to do that Copa America post game post game stream, because I haven't had a chance. It's because of my equipment and other stuff. Like, it's hard. But again, guys, USA 1, Mexico 0, USA 2-0 on this summer's international competition. All right. So again, thank you again for joining me in this live stream post-game analysis of the Gold Cup final. And remember, it's Kicking Balls FC. We kick balls to the truth, and the truth is the beautiful game. Thank you, guys. And also, don't forget to join me and on the live stream. Follow me on YouTube, and also follow me on Twitter as well. All right, guys. Take care. Have a good day.